Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can probably tell by the video of this vlog, it's going to be a very different video from my normal travel vlogs. I just want to say that I have been kind of emotional, just on an emotional journey the last 24 hours. So if I get emotional during this video and like cry or whatever, that's why. And it's just, I feel like to me this kind of is an emotional story. So I just wanted to sit down and share my memories of this day 8 years ago, as some of you guys who watch my vlogs have not had the experience to travel to Japan, nor have you probably experienced an earthquake and maybe not a tsunami. So as you may or may not know, my family actually arrived in Japan today 8 years ago. So we arrived at about 6 in the morning. It was a nighttime flight from Sydney. And we arrived 6, probably got out of the airport maybe 8ish. My memory, like, I can remember this day, though some parts of it are a bit fuzzy, so like just bear with me. And then we came to Sano to visit my grandparents, of course, to visit family. So it's usually about a 2-hour bus trip from Narita Airport, so we caught the bus here. We got here at around lunchtime and went to Komiya, which is a ramen restaurant across the street from my grandparents' house, for lunch. So we were sitting enjoying lunch, and then afterwards we went to 7-Eleven, which is down the street from my grandparents' place, and we actually got matcha ice cream, which is green tea ice cream, because all of my family loves it. We eat it all the time when we're in Japan. And we hadn't been to Japan for a few years. I think the last year we visited before 2011 was actually 2007. So we were like all craving some matcha ice cream. So we went and got our ice cream, and then we came back to my grandparents' house, and we were sitting enjoying our ice cream again. And I remember my dad was sitting over on his computer and doing work or whatever. And he said to us, "Did you feel that?" Now he was sitting on a chair with his feet on the ground and we were sitting on the floor, and he goes, "Did you feel that?" And I remember thinking, feel what? No, nobody could feel what he was feeling, and he kept saying, "Did you feel that?" Then this went on for like maybe a few minutes, and I can't actually remember experiencing an earthquake before 2011. Like, I was too young and I don't actually remember experiencing one. And so after he kept saying, "Did you feel that?" The whole house just shook so violently, and we went outside, like we went into the front room of the house, in my grandparents' house, and we looked out the window, and you can see the buildings outside shaking, and there's one building across the road that has like an air conditioning vent thing on the roof, and you can see that moving, and you can see the trees and the poles just all shaking. And then I remember, because you always like hear the thing of like, get under the table when there's an earthquake, and I can't remember if Mum said it or what happened, but Rico actually ducked under the table, and Dad just like grabbed her and he's like, "No, you're not supposed to be on the table, get outside, being under a table isn't safe." So we all went out to go outside with my grandparents and everything, and the building across the road just over there used to be the city town hall, and when the earthquake was happening, everybody from that building, because it's quite tall, was evacuated. So they were all outside on the pathway just standing, and it was about 3 p.m. when this happened. So all the kids from school were walking, going back home. So there was all these little kids on the street. It was quite cold. It's still just beginning to be spring here in Japan, so it was still quite cold, and we were all outside just watching everything shake, and everyone was coming outside of buildings. Now that city hall, I will insert a photo here of what it looks like now. It used to be a big white building that was actually damaged. The infrastructure was damaged during the earthquake, so that got knocked down. And when I visited in 2013 and 2014, there was nothing there. And actually, when I came last year, it's been replaced by a massive orange building. That's the photo there, and I'm just shocked, like I didn't expect that to be there. And it's sort of, I can see it from my room, I can see it now, and it's sort of just a reminder in a way of the earthquake and everything. So after all that had happened, now after all the earthquake and everything happened, we went back into the house and we didn't have any power. So for 2 hours, my auntie and Rico and I actually drove around Sunil trying to find batteries for some torches and stuff because we didn't have them stocked. And I can't remember how many shops we went to, but nobody had stocked, like nobody had those batteries anymore because everybody had actually got them. We finally found them, came home, and it was late at night. We were all just surrounded by candles, lights. Josie was still only little, so she had actually fallen asleep. So for the next 2 days, we did not have any power in this house because we were actually, my grandparents' house is actually connected up to the reactors, the nuclear reactors. I don't actually know what they're called, but the nuclear reactors that blew up. So while the tsunami happened, you probably all remember seeing it on news, the tsunami happened and then something happened, I can't remember exactly what was going on, but then the reactors like blew up and that was all a massive thing. So we had no power for 2 days, so no way for people in Australia to contact us. And then after the 2 days we got our power back, and the first thing that I remember happening after that was Dad turned on his computer and there was just an influx of messages from all our family and friends in Australia asking if we were alright, asking if we were still alive. And by that point, we hadn't actually seen the news. We didn't know what was going on. We knew it was an earthquake, a really big earthquake. I think it was magnitude 7. I'll search it up and put it here. But we had I didn't know because I didn't really understand earthquakes, or after a significant earthquake happens that there could be a chance of a tsunami. So after Dad had turned on his computer, we just had all these messages, and then I remember seeing on the news about the tsunami, and it was quite devastating to see just a massive wave come into Japan and just kind of destroy everything in its path. And I still get really emotional thinking about it. I don't really think about this time. I don't really think about 2011 as a year on a whole. So I still get very emotional talking about it. I haven't really talked about the tsunami or the earthquake. So after that, it was just, we were here for I think about 3 months, but it was just so busy. We had so many friends and family we were going to visit because that's what we always do when we come to Japan. We go up and down and north, south, west, east, just trying to visit family and friends in the amount of time that we have here. So we after all that and the news and everything, and Dad was seeing what was happening, and he knew that, because in Japan the news was like saying that to stay calm. Like, of course the government isn't going to cause an uproar, they're just going to tell people to stay calm, and they're going to kind of not give everybody the truth in a way. It's like a hidden truth. So we were always hearing all this stuff from the Japanese government through the news, telling everyone that it was like, alright, it's fine, don't need to panic, stay put. And in Australia, Dad was getting all the news that they were putting on Australia from his family and friends, and he said we have to leave, like, it's not safe, the air quality is going to be very bad because of the nuclear reactors blowing up in Fukushima, which is actually the next prefecture over from Tohoku where my grandparents live, so we were really close. That's why we had such a big earthquake. So after we found out what was happening and all this information, I remember Dad saying that the Australian embassy or something had like a helicopter that could fly us somewhere to get us on an aeroplane to go back to Australia, because I think at that point I don't know if Tokyo Narita Airport was still like up and running or what was happening. I can't really remember. But why we, like, my mum actually said she didn't want to go home because why we came in the first place, as you may or may not know, she was fighting cancer. So I think she knew. I think in a way she knew, and that this could be probably the last time that she saw family and friends here. And so she refused to leave. She didn't want to leave Japan. She wanted to keep traveling and seeing everybody. So I was always a mum's girl. Like I don't know, Rika and Josie always seemed to be like daddy's little girl and everything. And not saying that they didn't love both parents. I love both parents, but like I was always mum's girl. Like wherever she went, I'd always try and go with her and whatever. And so because she refused to go home and she didn't want to go back and she wanted to stay here, I was like, there's no way I'm going back to Australia if mum's here in Japan. And I think at the time I was just like, no, she's sick, all this is happening in Japan, I'm not leaving her. Like, I did not want to go back to Australia while she was here. So we ended up staying in Japan and traveling and meeting up with our friends. But because of the nuclear reactors, we were getting all this like iodine, bad iodine. I remember Dad saying it was all in the air and stuff like that. And Japan doesn't have like iodine in their salt, and that's what we have in Australia. So we had friends sending us over iodine salt and iodine tablets and all these like vitamins and stuff like that. So we ate salt with everything the whole time we were here in Japan, because Dad said if we always make sure we put like the good iodine in our bodies, it would have enough of the iodine that it won't absorb the bad iodine that's going through the air from the reactors. So we ate salt on top of our rice. If we didn't have salt with a meal, we'd pour it on our hand and like just eat pinches of salt. Like, it was really kind of just ridiculous how much salt we were eating. I remember like because the power plants had gone back up, and the remaining ones, I think there were 2 remaining ones or something, because they went back up, we had scheduled blackouts through the towns that were actually connected to the power plants to relieve pressure, so the remaining few didn't blow up. So we actually had scheduled blackouts, and they'd tell you before it was happening, so you had enough time to get batteries, flashlights and food. And then the traffic lights would be off, so they'd have police outside the houses, like guiding traffic and stuff like that. And then because Dad is a massive Michael Jackson fan, and he had a computer, and he'd make sure it was charged before the before the blackouts. So during the blackouts, we would have to listen to Michael Jackson on his computer until it ran out of battery, which was kind of annoying because I don't really like Michael Jackson. Not a massive fan compared to Dad. There was so many earthquakes after that big earthquake and the tsunami. And like us 3 girls actually had learnt the warning call, Jishin Sokodes, because we'd heard it so many times on the TV and radio or wherever we were when there was earthquakes. Because I remember we actually had an earthquake once while we were on a double-storied bullet train going somewhere, and they actually stopped the train and then like apologized and like said sorry, we're going now, whatever, after the earthquake happened. And then it was actually after us 3 girls had gone to bed, so we were upstairs and everyone was downstairs, and there was like a massive earthquake, and us 3 girls just like woke up and like ran downstairs while Mum and Dad were coming upstairs, because like we weren't going to be up here by ourselves when there was an earthquake. So yeah, I remember feeling really just upset all the time, like watching the news and hearing everyone's like stories of loved ones that they'd lost. And like even now it's kind of upsetting seeing the like stuff on the TV for the anniversary and all the ceremonies that they're revealing plaques for people who sadly passed away or are still missing, their like minute silences and everything. So it was a very emotional time, and still seeing it on TV is very emotional, and just it brings back a lot of memories. They rebuild so quickly after, which is so amazing. Like something happens and they just rebuild and just get on with life. And that's such an amazing thing, to be so resilient of something that happens so constantly and that has a massive effect on a country. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. If you'd like a more like detailed story of this day, and more, if you'd like me to tell more memories, leave a comment down below. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.